let me do a little preamble. I wrote a little bit about these two wonderful people. Um, but I wanted to say in a little more detail that I met Cynthia having a massage from her. And that massage was so far above and beyond most of the massages I've had in my life that I thought, you know what? She's great. I want more of her. And so we started to get to know each other, and we had sons the same age and the same level of goofiness, I would say. Although Marlon might be a little goofier than Riley.
I
But but those two guys hit it off, and Cynthia and I hit it off. And I soon came to understand whenever I would go into a session with Cynthia that all of a sudden I'd sort of leave my body. I'd sort of get it, float up somewhere. And I figured out, oh, that's because she must be healing me at the same time. And she was. It wasn't just the massage. She's got a magical spirit. And that has only increased over the decades that I've known her. She has continued to explore, continued to work on her stuff, continued to unpack, continued to expand, learn, and bravely put herself out there. When I sit down to do our meditations, our channeled meditations, and you all know that I have no idea who's going to come through, it's a little scary. Fortunately, over the couple of years that I've been doing this with all of you, I feel comfortable enough with you that I feel like I can't fall very far, but still, it's a little scary. Add on to that, opening your mouth and singing these channeled things. And that's where we get into Cynthia's territory here. I couldn't really write fully about it because it needs explanation. So this woman will just spontaneously come up with poetry that just so happens to go with the music that is being played by her and by Rick and by their other bandmate or whoever's on doing it with them at the time. And it all seems like it was completely rehearsed, prepared, whatever. And it isn't. It's in the moment, delivering what the moment is asking. A lot of times pulling the natural world into it. And these are just, they're like, they call them soundscapes. They're just transportive. They're just beautiful. And so I can say that I have a sense of the courage that it takes to open oneself in that way. And that is Cynthia. So with no further ado, welcome my dear friend, Cynthia Quintanilla.
Thank you. Thank you, Hope. What sweet words you
All true,
gave.
all
Yeah,
true, all
yeah.
true. And I have known Rick since he came into your life and was there at your wedding and celebrating, and every step along the way, we've gone through the things
We have
together.
gone through many things together.
We
Yes,
have.
we
And in fact,
have.
just a few weekends ago, we were in Utica celebrating Marlon's wedding. So much fun.
Yeah.
So life goes on, right? So anyway, here you are, and we're waiting for Rick. He will be here momentarily, but I think we can get to know Cynthia a little bit first. So
Mhm.
you want to chime in on anything in particular, or would you like me to start firing questions?
Oh, fire away, fire away.
Well, the other thing I will say is that when the infinity wave first came in, there were a few people who uh, really hung there with me, who said yes, you know, this is something important, and Cynthia was one of them, and she came to the very first workshop. Um, she played some bowls, and but more importantly to me, she actually was there in the beginning. And you know, the beginning was the hardest part in a way. Um, Bringing something in, you know, and having people willing to open to something new. That's hard to find, you know, and so I will always be so grateful to you for that. Um, okay, so let's ask some questions. So we're talking about harmony this month. Every month, for those of you who are new here tonight, every month we have a theme. Last month was, what was last month? Acceptance? I think so. And this month is harmony. And so we explore the themes all during the month. We have our meditations on Monday nights. Sometimes those meditations coincide with the theme, and sometimes they don't. We are recently being worked with by introduced the Hathor community to our group, and they're working with us. So they don't necessarily so far haven't been working with the theme, but that doesn't matter. Our infinite wisdom guests, Cynthia and Rick, and I are going to be talking about harmony, and anything, any questions, any thoughts that you all have are more than welcome. So last Sunday in my email, I talked a little bit about harmony within and how to invite harmony into our disharmony. Teachings of a man that I shared in my last email. It's a very interesting thought. And I sort of wondered if you had any thoughts about that, Sin. Inviting harmony into your disharmony. Does that resonate with you at all?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, let's
No,
talk about it.
I mean, so there's, times when you just feel out of sorts, right? And it's I feel like it's chafe for the mill. So inviting or invoking is what I would call it personally, invoking harmony in those spaces where there is disharmony can be very interesting, right? It can create at first listen, because I'm musical and speaking musically, or it's all related to resonance and the field around us. So initially it may feel cacophonous, maybe, because there's this disharmony, and then you're invoking harmony into that space where the disharmony lives. And so, there's this thing with the with frequency, where when you start at a certain frequency, so let's call disharmony a frequency, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's call harmony like maybe a step above that frequency. So when you're raising that frequency, there's a certain pattern to the disharmony. And when you invite or invoke harmony into that field of disharmony, it's going to create a little static, perhaps, or a little bit of a chaotic feeling or sense or look about it. And then suddenly, as the frequency raises to meet that harmony, this beautiful pattern emerges.
Well, it sounds a lot like cymatics to me.
It's a lot like cymatics, yeah. And
So,
so, like when we're with our band, let's say, and we're, channeling this music, and then someone maybe comes in with something that sounds like maybe a little dissonant, there's a moment of pause in that dissonance. It's like, what is the next note that's played is the most important thing. It's
Mm.
not going, oh, that's wrong. It's what is the next note that happens, and can it be in harmony?
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So I wrote about cymatics at the very beginning of the month and talking about the different ways that we can employ or even think about harmony. Um, Looking at a mandala can have the effect of putting us into that state, a mandala that is specifically created for a harmonious state. The thing about what I love about cymatics, and it's very similar actually to brain states, that I've learned with neurofeedback, is that if there's a pattern that's sort of the normal functioning, right, is in this pattern. And with neurofeedback, you're asking that pattern to change. You're asking because you want to up level it, right?
Right.
So neurofeedback is asking that pattern to change. And what happens is it hangs on and it starts to shake. It's almost, I mean, your brain doesn't start shaking, but you can see it in the neurofeedback. You can see it in the brain waves. It gets cacophonous, and then it breaks through. Very much like you're talking about, and very much like cymatics. For all of you, if you remember the cymatics, it's the when you put the sand on the metal sheet and the tone change. As the tone changes, it makes beautiful geometries, then it gets chaotic, then it makes a new geometry, then chaotic as the notes go up. That's very cool. So you're sensitive to that when you're actually playing your music.
Yep.
And what's
100.
interesting is that that's a very different experience of music than a piece that has been written out and performed just right, because it doesn't necessarily have that little turning point. It's not traveling anywhere except for where it's supposed to travel, but you don't know where you're supposed to travel. So you're oh, it's so interesting. Well, this is why I wanted to interview you and Rick, because harmony, we've got harmony in the self. Then we've got on top of that a layer of harmony with another person. Then we have the layer of harmony applying that to music. And then we have the level of harmony applied to channeled so-called spiritual music. I find it spiritual. So
Sure.
we now have all these levels of harmony, and not that many people can speak to it. You know,
Yeah.
it's this is why I wanted to interview you guys. You've just given us something to chew on there.
Yeah. And then the other level, right, is
Yeah,
you add a live audience in the mix. And
right.
you've got the resonant field of the audience, right? So when I begin a concert, I always begin with opening directions, because for me, that puts everyone in a common field. And it creates a grounding for me, a place to hold myself in a container with everyone present in the room. And everyone shows up with their stuff, right? Their harmony and their disharmony and their ancestors and their energies and their day that they just went through, because we usually do them in the evening or late afternoon. And so everyone's walking into that space with that energy.
Right.
And so to sort of pause for a moment and say, okay, we're gonna all come to resonance. You can hold your stuff, that's fine, that's great, but bringing everyone into that field and all their ancestors and all the energies that they bring creates this very, very wide palette for us to choose from energetically, or who's the as you know, when you're channeling, it's like, who's the loudest one in the room? And and sometimes you're saying, hey, everybody, one at a time, please.
Yes, exactly.
There he is.
Oh,
Made
good.
it.
Hey, Hope.
Here he is. Hey,
Hope.
Rick.
Gang's all here.
Oh, give me one more minute.
Sure.
Okay, sorry.
He just had a 45-minute drive, so
Oh, okay.
I'm
Bio
guessing
break.
it's a
So, well, now that sets up, you're right. This finding, creating actually, or opening to the harmony of the environment, whoever's in it, uh, two-legged, four-legged, and whatever else,
in the
the rocks,
invisible.
the trees, etc. You're setting that up via intention, and then talk a little bit about how you continue to hold that, or do you continue to hold that?
So I tend to just trust that that is in place,
Mhm.
firmly in place. And I kind of see it in my mind's eye as a column of light in the center of the room or the center of the space. And so I pretty much let that float on its own. And the way that I can tell if it's sort of not quite there is I start to feel ungrounded, or I start to feel like I'm getting carried away somewhere, and I will get quiet and come back to that. So it's almost like a touchstone in case I need it.
How do you bring yourself back?
I just simply get quiet and breathe
Mhm.
and remember that place, that column of light in the center. And
Yeah.
I have a lot of tools, I
Yeah.
have wave energy, I have other energetics that I use. But yeah. And and sometimes it will be simply looking at this guy.
That can bring you right back in, can't it?
That can bring me right back in, and he'll be looking at me like,
Where are you?
where are we going? Where are we going?
Love and expectation, and wonder.
Hey, Rick. So glad you could come home a little early tonight to join us. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm honored that you asked. So
Well, I was just saying to everybody that, we're really talking about a multi-layered cake here. When we talk about harmony, we have the inner harmony, and then we have harmony between people, let's say two people. Then we have the harmony when you just start to engage with someone else in music. And then we have the kind of music you all do, which is channeled and spontaneous. And then, as Cynthia pointed out, you have the harmony then with the audience and the environment. And that's 5 levels. Most of us are trying to navigate one, and you guys, so I wanted you to both be here so we could talk a little bit between the two of you, share with everybody about some of the things that, life is bumpy and there are bumps and grinds, and yet you have to go and do your music. So, just talk a little bit about this process of refinding harmony when you maybe are off kilter between yourselves, and then you come to the music, and what happens? Does it inform you? Do you inform it? How does that work?
You should see us setting up.
Oh my God.
A little grouchy?
A little grouchy, a little snarly.
But
and then what happened?
That's part of the process, it's part of the process. So, I mean, basically, we love each other. There's tremendous mutual respect and trust in what's going to happen. because we've been doing it long enough that we know it's not us doing it necessarily. That if we take some deep breaths, just drop in and get out of the way, spirit will be there, music will be there, whatever you want to call it. It will show us what to do, and we always feel like we're just being guided in love and shown what to do is basically the best way to say it. Because when we're playing, I have no idea what's going to happen, but I know something wonderful is going to happen. One of my favorite quotes from the movie 2002. Anyway, something wonderful is going to happen. So I always know that and expect that. So no matter what we're feeling before, it's just okay. And then as soon as you drop, there it is, and pretty much, in the sound healing work we're doing with the crystal bowls, from the first sound of the bowls, doors wide open, you're dropped in, everybody drops in. And it's been that way, I don't know, most of the time, but it's definitely been getting better over the years, because the more we do it, the more familiar we are with what's happening, and the more I trust it more,
Mhm. Mhm.
so.
Well, I think I was going to ask you if with the first strike of the bowl, does that just like bring you right where you need to be in a way, ready and expectant for what's going to happen? This idea, and again, I wrote about this at the beginning of the month, the the ways that we can drop into harmony, and sound is just one of the number one things to do. One note
One note.
resets our water,
Absolutely.
brings it back into synchrony, into a unified field, just a note. And then you all go on to do whatever. So I'm guessing that first strike of the bowl, I was hoping you'd say that. Boom, we're there.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
I just want to
And
say, driving, I was a little apprehensive about, because I don't do interviews, things like this. So I was a little apprehensive, but driving up tonight, the sky was so golden. It was unbelievable. The whole sky was golden, beautiful clouds. And I'm going, oh my God, look at this. Look at how beautiful this moment is, So anyway, that helped me drop into it, I must say.
well, and also, if you hadn't come home, you would have missed it.
Well, yeah, gotta show up.
Right.
No, I'm
Show up and strike.
You would
the
have been
ball.
driving in the dark.
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So, so talk to us a little more about just what, because as you said, Sin, when you're in the middle of a piece and all of a sudden there's that maybe off sound, it's a little bit goes flat or sharp, or is going to take you in another direction. And how does that guide you? How does that does it make you nervous? Like, do you feel like you're going to lose something, or do you trust it so much that you go on to the next thing totally easily? And I would like to hear from both of you on that one.
You go first.
Okay.
Ladies first.
In the past, I used to get nervous and go, oh, where are we going here? But now over time, it's just become a really deep trust that everything is as it should be. And that we are being, like Rick said, we just step out of the way.
Mhm.
It's really not us doing, it's almost the music is playing us.
Yeah.
Totally.
When we get into that harmonic state, we can't judge what's coming out.
That's a good point.
Because if I did, nothing would happen.
Right.
Because I have a great inner critic. That
One
inner
of the
critic likes work overtime plus. It's working I don't know, 100-hour week.
Yeah.
And if I allowed that voice in my head to take over, nothing would happen. Absolutely nothing would happen. And there have been times where, Rick will say, "Oh, come here. He'll have recorded what we did, and
It's
he'll be
really
like,
important.
"Oh, you gotta hear this." And I'm like, "No, I remember that. It didn't sound good. I don't want to listen to that right now. I can't listen to that right now." And then like months later, he'll go, "Are you ready to hear this?" And he'll play it for me, and I'll be like, "Wow, when was that?
Right.
Who is that?"
Right.
So yeah, it's a real deep trust in the whole, that we are held in the intention that we create.
Now, let me just pause there, because there's so much in that we can apply to our daily lives.
Just
We don't have to be singers. We
Right.
don't have to be performers,
Right.
but getting to that level of trust where the inner critic moves behind the screen, that is living in inner harmony, wouldn't you say?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
100%. Yep.
Beautifully said.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I remember years ago, and in my 20s, when I was playing in clubs in the Bay Area, just how you have certain moments, realizations just pop up, that sometimes years later come to fruition. But it was like, music is life, and the music will show you what to do, and it's the same principles as in life. If you listen, you'll be shown what to do. But nobody bats 1,000. Nobody's perfect. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to play bad notes, but you don't hang on to those. You always magnify the beautiful moments and remember that. And I think too much of this world is focused on the negative, and it's like the negative isn't the truth. The mistakes aren't the truth. They come but it's like it gives you an opportunity just to drop it, let it go, and drop back into believing in the beautiful moments. And those are the truth, and those are constant. And when we drop into a certain state, and musically, then we can feel that constant. Oh my God, we're there. We're like, in this beautiful sea of infinite creativity and love, and then you pack up
and that's the effect that it has on the listener. It's like being in a sea of love and sound. It really is. I think that's really interesting, as a tool to ask that question: is this the truth? Is this the truth? Is this my truth? I'm looking for ways to help people, come back in. I mean, the wave, I think, is wonderful for restoring harmony. I've told stories ad nauseum about how it's helped me to do that and go from a state of utter, pulling my hair out to laughter in 5 minutes. I don't know. There aren't too many things that have been that successful in my life before, but there are other things we can do. There is this asking, oh, gee, is that situation, is that the truth? Is that really the truth? No, I don't think so. And we're not talking about factual truth. We're talking about, larger truths. And so, the negative things, yes, they exist, but is that really part of my life? Is that really part of who I am? Not really. Boom. That help. Those things like that help to move us back into that harmonious state.
And a teacher told me years ago, it's all about right identification. What are you going to identify with?
Yeah.
Yeah. We are beautiful, loving, spiritual beings, or we're all messed up and we don't have a chance.
It's the old story about which wolf are you going to feed?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
It's so true. The simple things are so true. And you just got to, remember, it's got to remember, and remember and remember. Oh, there it is again. Okay. Keep letting it go. Because
So what else helps you when you're not on stage, what else helps you drop into harmony with one another? If it's okay for me to ask that.
Absolutely. You can ask anything.
doing the dishes. Well, it's
I
the,
left-
it's the little things.
I left him a sink full of dishes this morning, and I came home and they were all done
See.
in the drying rack, and it
See.
made me very happy. I think communication,
Big.
is huge. So, I've sort of taken on this this idea that was brought to me by my friends Kathy and Laura, who run a program called Be Love Now. And basically you create a feelings and needs. So if there's disharmony, you say, okay, what am I feeling? What am I feeling?
Mhm.
Making no assumptions about anybody else or anything else, just being in your own truth. What am I feeling? And given that feeling, what do I need? And then you say, I feel this because I have a need for this. And it takes the charge, that energetic charge of maybe anger or whatever out of the situation, because you're basically speaking from a really vulnerable place. So I think, this sort of resonance that we put ourselves in when we do a concert requires a lot of vulnerability. And
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
we have learned to be vulnerable with each other and to say, hey, that didn't feel good, and let's talk about that. Or, yeah, I don't really agree with you there, but, let me hear you out.
Yeah.
That's really great. Brene Brown has a whole thing on vulnerability. And I completely agree that, you can't really get anywhere without it in relationship, right? So it is one of the keys. We're going to be, so on Sunday, I'm going to be talking about, harmony with another person. And that's definitely number one thing is to be willing to be vulnerable without being attacking.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I like the phrase, the sentence, I feel this because I need that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Great.
And a lot of us have gone through our lives not really knowing what our needs are, because we're outwardly trying to fix everybody or make everything okay so that we can feel safe inside, right?
Right.
And so when you come to a place of, really getting in touch with what you're feeling, it leads you to what your core values are, because the same needs keep showing up all the time. Oh, I have a need for connection. I have a need for integrity. I have a need for, whatever, keeping contracts, whatever the need is. I have a need for safety. I have a need for, whatever it is. It leads you to really get to know what your core values are. And how that keeps coming up over and over and over again, which then leads you to, like, what is my soul work?
Yeah.
Which leads you to more harmony within yourself, So this relationship thing is so important for all of us, we can't really do it alone.
Yeah. And for me, like my mantra, I always, many times during the day, God is love, I am love. God is love, I am love. Take some deep breaths. That's the truth, stay in that place. And then whatever things start happening, you can just go to that. And again, be vulnerable, relax, not have to be right. It's a big one, not having to prove anything is a big one. always going back to the harmony that's there. I was just reading this. It's like I read a lot. I don't, but anyway, Eric Metaxas, Is Atheism Dead? Great book.
Oh, right.
Oh my God. When he talks about how unbelievably harmonious the universe is and how it was created, there's no way that it just happened. It was all very, very specific. Scientists trying to fit, they just see how incredibly specific. So there's harmony in the universe. There's harmony in nature. And we're not separate from that. So it's kind of like, remember that we're not separate from it. The harmony is the truth. The other stuff is just stuff,
Beautifully said, Rick. Beautifully said. And, I mean, it's kind of obvious, but, just going for a walk in the woods will, boom, put you right back in.
Yeah.
Because that field of harmony is so much greater than our field, right?
You think? Absolutely, yeah.
And we can harmonize with every aspect of nature. I mean, harmonizing with a really good rock, I mean, it's one of the best things in the whole wide world.
Yeah.
It is one of the best things. It's like,
I know.
I remember our trip up the mountain with Sakaya and Dorothy. And Dorothy and I got on this rock and we were just like in it. And we came up and we both looked like babies that had just drank like this most delicious mother's milk. And we were almost, drunk on this sense of connection to this rock and the planet. It was just, so yeah, nature is another way of like coming back into, it happened the other day. I can't remember what it was about. But I said, it was probably about recording. I've been working on this recording and I was like, oh my God, I gotta get out of here. So I looked at Rick, and Rick was trying to be helpful and I was just not, and I couldn't hear it. I was like,
step away from
and I just said, I gotta go out to the garden. And I just got up and went outside and went to the garden and sat. And everything shifted. Like you said, all it takes is 5 minutes and it was done. And suddenly there was like, a hummingbird and, you just, it's so beautiful that you get disarmed and you just come into resonance. That beauty.
Yeah.
And that frequency of harmony that nature holds.
Yeah. And that was funny too, because dealing with electronics, the computer programs, sometimes stuff's happening you can't explain, just like it's energetic stuff's going on, so right before that nothing was working. It's like, what the hell? We're doing all the right thing, but it's just not working. What is it? And then as soon as she stepped away, everything worked. So, so yeah, you gotta just walk away sometime, but walk into a beautiful place. Right?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't our fields, why wouldn't our state, our cacophonous state affect the electronics?
And
why wouldn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
I know it does. It totally does.
Yeah.
I always try to tell Jim, he gets so frustrated so easily. He's like he's an Apple guy and he is forced to work on a PC and he just blows his lid at the smallest thing. And it's like right in front of him, but nothing will work. And he's fucking like this.
You're right.
You're taking the wrong approach here, dude.
You're right.
Anyway, well, this is really, really, a lot of these things, some of these things have been said, but to hear your experiences and how you can correct one another, right? Does that come into play? when one person is a little more cacophonous than the other?
I never correct her. No.
I don't mean correct.
Wait.
I don't mean correct. I mean,
I know. I know. I was just kidding. I was just kidding.
I think we can hold each other
Yeah.
in deep compassion and love, and
Yeah,
that shifts it. It's often enough. It's I know for me it's worse when he points it out.
You know, something I wanted to go back to when you said connection, like with a rock. You know, I thought, you know, when we think of sound healing, it's like, you know, the crystal bowls, the meditation, the other stuff. I have kind of the same experience when I'm playing in a club and I'm playing the drums and people are dancing and having so much joy. It's that same kind of connection, bliss, joy feeling. It's very peaceful. And it's like, you look at the picture and it's like, really? But it really is, because it's all about connecting with energy, you know, connecting my energy playing. People are out there, they're moving, they're feeling their joy, you know. I mean, it can come in a lot of different forms, you know, but when you said rock, I went, I just came from the school of rock, so that's where I think of. But yeah, so it can be in nature or it can be kind of anywhere, you know. But nature's the easiest, I'd say.
It is.
Yeah.
You know, that's I think that's what makes you a good teacher too, is that, you know, his intention is to connect.
Yeah.
You know, and the kids really feel that.
Yeah.
They really, really sense it.
Feeling the love.
But I'm loving what you're saying, Rick, because even, you know, not allowing, but just your field is resonating with the joy that you're seeing of people enjoying your sound. And so it's kind of an infinity loop, right? And one's feeding the other.
Absolutely.
And it just sends you higher and higher and higher, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I played the other night at this dance in a tent, and we were playing, and it was a group of people that loved to dance, so they were dancing, and the band was really happening. And this one lady just looked up, and you know, she's dancing with her husband. She just looked up and basically said, "I love your drumming. Oh, thank you," and then kept moving. So those kind of, it creates a loop, you know, an energy that feeds in the joy. You know, it's great. We're both then free in that moment. You know.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Well, listen, I want to throw out an opportunity for people to ask questions or make comments. Anybody want to jump in here with a thought or a question? Fiona, looks like you have something on your mind.
I'm always the one that speaks, so I try not to.
Please.
But I just love the simplicity of the way you've described just how to like step away and breathe and to come from the assumption of harmony, you know, just like of there being, that's how it is. And I just wanted to ask you also, that book that you said, Soli Metaxas or something.
Eric Metaxas.
Eric Metaxas.
Yeah.
And it's about harmony?
Well, the title of the book is Atheism Dead. Oh. Based on the quote back in the life, what is God dead? You know, they're turning all back around, you know, that is atheism dead, because science, he gets deep into the whole scientific research of finding how life began and blah, blah, blah. And they're basically, the more they get into it, the scientists are realizing there's no way, there had to be a creator. There's no way that this stuff just happened or evolved out of whatever, primordial ooze, this happened and all of a sudden it's life. They say, you know, it's just, anyway, so he talks a lot about all that, and it's really wonderful. And he said, like, scientists and people are coming to realize, oh my God, yeah, there has to be a creator. There's no other explanation. You know? So, you know, so he's talking about the harmony of the universe, the harmony of nature, you know, and anyway, yes, it's a great book.
I love that. I must look for it, because I think coming from that place and the assumption that it can't be any other way is just wonderful, is what you keep falling back into.
Yeah.
And I always feel for those people who can't reach that assumption, you know, and it is like atheists, and I have friends that are, and they're humanists and atheists, and you know, and I think they end up in a lot of discomfort because
because you're trying to perpetuate a non-truth. And when you, and eventually know it's not true. So you have to lie to yourself. So yeah. But in the book, he talks about, you know, some of the premier atheists, you know, of our time, and how they're coming to the realization, oh my God, you know,
Oh my God.
I can't explain it anymore, you know. There must be something. So yeah.
Just getting out of our heads.
Oh my God. Jeez.
Big. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fiona.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Yeah, Virginia.
Hi, thank you both for being here. When you were first speaking, Cynthia, before you were home, Rick, you were talking about getting prepared with the group. So it's yourself and it's the group. And then you said, and the ancestors. And I do quite a bit of group meditation, and never once have I thought about ancestors being present as well. You know, I was just wondering if you could speak a little bit more about that. And it was just an interesting concept to me, because I think of myself and then I think of the group, but I'm not thinking of tiers of ancestors being present as well. And that struck me as very interesting. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you think about that.
Sure. Thank you. So there's so many levels to this. I'm going to try and keep it as simple as possible. But basically, you know, we're all walking around with the frequencies of our ancestors, right? So that's number one. And the second thing is that an ancestor can be something other than a person. It can be, let's, for lack of a better word, a guide or an angel. It can be stones that we carry, you know, crystals. It can be a place that we have resonated with and deeply connected with. So when I speak of ancestors, I try to broaden it out a little bit, even from like our direct lineage. But lineage is like a really important piece of what I like to bring to our concerts as far as healing, because I feel like if you heal backwards and forwards through time, your present moment is going to be so much clearer and so much more in harmony with who you truly are, not who you've been told you are, but who you truly are in your heart of hearts. Does that answer your question?
Oh, absolutely. I just, even the comment that you made, I was like, wow, that really changes how I will meditate.
Oh,
That changes who, you know, who I will acknowledge and who I will invite in.
And
so,
thank-
I mean, you've just added a whole new layer for me. So thank you. That
oh, thank you.
one
Thank
little
you for
comment was
asking.
very big for me.
And you talked about
Excellent.
at the beginning of our, you know, I would say concert, but they're not concerts. The beginning of our moments in beauty together. She opens the directions. She always starts with that. So it includes the room, the ancestors, the ancient ones, the directions,
Okay.
heaven and earth. She includes all of that in the very beginning, so that the stage is set and it's a big, beautiful stage that everybody can feel, you know, and then go from there. So I always love that part, because it's like, you know,
We're here.
we're here. And we're not
Thank
alone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Virginia. Patricia.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. This has been absolutely wonderful. I'm so glad I didn't miss it, Hope. I never thought of it this way. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for helping me to see how amazing. I just feel this connection to the divine. And after what you were saying, I began to think about what it must be like to live on this planet without that feeling, the desolation, the being at the whim of everything that's out there in the external world, but with a connection to the divine. There's just this, you feel held.
Yeah.
And what you said about the ancestors, I wear these these are two little gold angels.
Oh.
And every night I put them in front of Paramahansa Yogananda and Jesus and all the saints. That I put them there to energize them every night. And then every morning I take them out and I put them in my pockets so that they're with me all day. But now I'm going to recognize that when I'm doing that, I'm bringing my genealogy with me. I'm bringing my whole family with me. That is so wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and you're bringing your guru and your saints with you.
Yes.
Walking with you too. I mean, you got some heavy hitters there in your pockets.
Yeah, pocket full of miracles.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Patricia. Gail.
Well, I think of bringing your ancestors, you know, in your consciousness, but also you need to think about bringing your descendants. It's ancestors and here and now, yourself and your descendants. It's
right.
That whole span.
The 7 generations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Backwards and forwards in time.
By the way, Gail happens to be my soul mama. So
Lucky
She's my
you.
spirit daughter. She's my spiritual daughter.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
I just wanted to thank Gail for that because I thought about the ancestors, but I have so many wonderful nieces and nephews and all of them and Bob's granddaughter. Now I can think of them in my pocket too. So
Yeah.
that's great. Thank you, Gail.
It's getting very crowded in here.
Yeah, really.
There's not going to be any room in these pants for me. Seven generations forward and 7 generations backward. I love that. Thanks. God bless the indigenous people. They've been saying that for how long? Long time.
Yep.
Well, you know, Cynthia and Rick and I mean, you know, it's in our spiritual journeys, it has brought us back into that wisdom. You know, I mean, we're neither of us are that lineage right now, but you know, we've done our searching and learning from that body of work and understanding, and it has made all the difference. It's made all the difference in my spirituality to go a more shamanic route, to balance that with the other. You know, it's both things. And you know, well, I could go on and on. I'm not going to. Okay. Anybody else have a question? Don't get me started.
That's harmony. It's yes and.
Yes, and oh, baby. Anybody else want to comment or Virginia?
I'm just wondering, are
Sorry,
you
got another one. Oh, so go ahead, Fiona.
just a quick one. You make me very curious to hear your music, which I would love to do. Are you recording any of it yet?
Oh yeah.
As a matter of fact.
As a matter of fact, Rick's been working on a new album, and it includes some live tracks and some done here in the studio.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, it's a material over that covers, you know, like I think about 8 years, you know, and I mean, in the very beginning, it's important for me to record. I love to record because it's the thing, when it happens, like music, you play it and then where is it? It's gone. Other art form, you painter, you do this, oh, look at this. So having the opportunity to record stuff has been really valuable to capture those moments so we can hear, oh my God. So anyway, I've put together a compilation that I feel is really, really beautiful. So we're gonna have, I mean, it's kind of done. We'll have it available
Soon.
in Walmart by next Monday.
But
well,
on the email that I sent, I said, check out their website.
You have a
And on there's a page with different recordings. So they also have their CDs available, and I'm sure you're on Spotify and all that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Heather just put the link in the chat.
Okay. But this new compilation I put together is beautiful from beginning to end. And it really, when I listen to it, it blows my mind because like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. And it's like, how do we do that?
So how are we going to get this, Rick?
I don't know. How are we gonna do that? We're gonna make CDs. You're gonna make it available online.
It will make it available online.
Yeah.
You
Promise.
know,
Well,
CD
can you
download.
let me know, because I'll send out a message to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You have one of the tracks, Hope. Apparently,
I do.
I didn't know Rick sent it to you.
Destiny, that one I sent.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Amazing.
Yeah, Rick will often pull me into the studio and go, "Here, look what I just did," and I'll be like, I don't have anything, and I don't feel like doing it, and then I put the headphones on and I start to listen what he's done, and it just, and we're off.
Yeah.
You're into harmony, baby.
Well, that's it. That's it. It's there. It's already there. It's always there. You know, and just being willing to drop in. Yeah, when that happened, that totally blew my mind because she had not heard the track, had no idea, and what she did was so incredibly deep and beautiful and perfect, in perfect harmony with the track that she'd never heard before. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Well,
It was really beautiful. It was
was
really beautiful.
It was another one of those like resonant moments, you know. Harmony and resonance are very similar to me.
Mhm.
And I had been just reading about some stuff, and it was in my mind and in my field, and so Rick really captured the essence of what I was feeling as I was learning about all this stuff, and that's what showed up.
Actually, let's talk about that, because we're in harmony with one another, even when we're not in the same room.
Yeah.
Right. Especially when we're living together, we're living in close proximity to one another.
Right.
Our fields are communicating with one another all the time. So there you were reading your thing, Cynthia, but Rick was doing his thing, but actually he was picking up on what you were reading,
Right,
and translating it into music. And all you had to do was step in and put the cherry on the top of the cake. I mean, the thing, like you said, Rick, it's already there. The harmony is there, you know, or the resonance, whatever word you want to use.
The best stuff on the recordings, I have no idea what I'm doing. And I was thinking about that today. Sometimes if you know what you're doing, then you're going to do what you know. But if you have no idea what you're going to do, then something brand new is going to happen.
Oh, that is,
You know?
that is the key to it all. Not knowing is number one.
Yeah.
You know, we if we're so busy knowing everything, nothing can get in, you know. It's that beautiful state of not knowing, walking the line, you know, walking out on the edge, not knowing, then all kinds of things can happen.
Absolutely.
It not just music.
Don't ask me to do it again, you know.
It's scary sometimes, but
well, you know,
It's
so
very scary sometimes.
we'll record something, it'll be great, then we'll try to do it again or replicate it. It doesn't work. It was like that moment,
For
that's
that
what that
moment.
was, you know.
right.
So I just trust there's going to be more.
Right.
Good thing we're
Beautiful.
not playing 5 nights a week, you know. Anyway.
You know, just staying in that willing state. And
Absolutely.
So anybody else want to chime in here? Virginia, did you have something else to add?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what I was going to ask, but as you're talking, you know, what just keeps coming to mind is being present in this unique moment,
Yeah.
because no two moments are, this moment is not going to come again. Not in the same way. We may do similar things, but this moment is unique. And listening to you, it's just reminding me of being present, vulnerable, and open in the moment. And then things flow through you. But what the question I was going to ask is, and it's actually for all three of you, is when you know you're going to, for instance, Hope, when you know it's a Monday and you're going to do some channeling, and Rick and Cynthia, when you know that you're getting together with a group and you're going to be doing healing music and whatnot, is there anything that you do prior, like earlier in the day or whatever, to help you to be able to be present and drop in that moment? Is there something that you do ahead of time,
You go ahead.
behind the scenes?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So for me, it's my meditation practice, and I also honestly, I look at the astrology of the day and really look at all the astrological aspects of that day to see what themes might be up for people, and just sitting with those themes. The other thing that I've done for a long time is to see all the folks that are coming as energy. So I'm seeing them as points of light,
Right.
and I'm gathering them in my field ahead of time, and bringing that energy into my meditation, so that I already have a bit of familiarity with what's maybe happening for people. And that way, I still get thrown sometimes with what shows up, but not always, not so much anymore.
That's great. And because she does that, I can just show up and support,
I was going to say, you don't have to, Rick. She's done it.
Well, kind of, it's like a trusting that. Like I said, whenever we're performing, I have total trust in who she is and what she brings. And my gig is just to breathe, show up, and be present, and I'll be showing what to do. And during the day, it's like, like I said, my practice, if you want to call it practice, just God is love. I am love. Take a few deep breaths. Do that a lot, and then do what you have to do. Go to work, pay rent.
His trust is unnerving sometimes.
Well,
It's pretty unwavering.
you've seen enough. You trust.
I think
It sounds like comfort. It's comfort. He's comfortable in the process. He's just comfortable in it. It's like,
I think he's so in it that he doesn't know
Yeah.
the difference. I think you're just in it all the time, Rick. That's just,
I believe that's correct.
yeah.
this is,
Yes. I have a question.
My answer is for if I'm going to do a workshop, and I do something more like what Cynthia is talking about. But for Monday nights, no, I pretty much sit down and gather myself, and everything happens. However, that said, what's happening with the Hathors is requiring that I start a little early and I get tuned in a little early. They are extremely discerning and the communication, I have to get into a particular alignment for that communication. So this is, this is new. And so I'm just learning how to get with them. But in the past, now when for that World Unity Week, when I was doing it every night, then I would start 15 minutes beforehand, and I would get in the zone with Merlin and just, be ready. And then it would usually happen quickly. So that's my answer.
Well,
I-
thank you, because you make it seem so effortless. We're having these sometimes heavy discussions or healing moments, and then you just seem to drop in instantaneously. And I'm like, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just happened over time.
Yeah.
It used to
I can
take
attest to
longer.
that.
Yeah.
Can attest to that. I've watched Hope's progression over the years, and it's taken, she, again, trust.
Yeah,
and
I was going to say, she and Rick.
trust and vulnerability is like huge. I mean, I will never forget our little afternoon with Buddha.
Oh my gosh.
That was like,
Oh, we should tell that story and then we'll end. So talk about trust. Oh my gosh. So I was told by this being whose name is Zakaya. It's not a person, it's a being. Zakaya describes, I'm going to say himself because it's a male name, as sitting at the right hand of Creator and sounding creation. So it's like there's a creative urge, and then Zakaya sounds it. So it comes out, I guess, in light, and then Zakaya sounds it, and sound starts to gather more density, and then it would go from there into geometry, and then it would go from geometry into, a material world. So Zakaya says he is basically the sound creator. He created Om. Yeah. Well, anyway, this was, a being that I was in touch with a few years ago. I haven't heard from him in a long time. And he told me to create a meditation, that I should do this meditation. And so I set up the date to do it at Cynthia and Rick's, because they had the recording session and the studio, and I feel comfortable with them. And this was in the days when I did not channel in front of anybody. And so I'm waiting and waiting. The weeks are going by. I'm waiting for the channel to come in. I'm waiting for the message for the meditation. It's not happening. It's not happening. I'm saying, where are you? What's going on? Nothing's happening. Finally, it's the day, and I'm driving down to Connecticut, and I'm starting to sweat bullets because, what am I going to do? And I get down there and I sit in this big comfy chair, and all of a sudden my body goes into cross legs, and fortunately the mic was on and all of a sudden this voice comes out that, it's on my website. I think it's on my website, and it's Buddha. I've never had Buddha come through before. And it is this gorgeous little piece. And then Cynthia and Rick went and applied this music to it that just, oh my God, it just made it sing. And I think I always release that. If it's not on my website now, I always release it on December 8th, which is Buddha's Day of Awakening. And the story is in there, and the audio is in there. But that was something else. The accent, the whole 9 yards, right?
Yeah, the breathing.
It was really great.
It was like very heavy breathing.
Yes. Yeah. I felt like I was I didn't feel like a thin who he probably I felt like one of the statues,
Mhm.
the big belly Buddha. That's what the body felt like. It was wild.
The energy was over the top in the room, which is why the mic went live immediately. I was like, oh, something's happening.
That's right.
Anyway, that's the kind of thing you can do with dear friends, and as these two are. So I want to thank you. Any last parting words on our topic? Anything you'd like to finish with?
Oh gosh,
I'm good.
you're good. I just, reiterating vulnerability, intention,
I wonder.
and believe in miracles
Mm.
because they do happen.
Yeah.
They do. That is for sure. All right, my loves. Thank you so much. And everybody, I hope you've had a wonderful time. It's been great having you here. Thank you for your thoughts, your questions, your comments. Really, really appreciate it. And anybody is welcome to come back on Monday nights. We do the meditation. It's always interesting. I'll say that. So until the next time, lots of love.
Thank you, Hope.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.
So
Thank
much.
you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.